You know, usually when we think of a holiday, we think of a full stop.
Right, like a break from everything.
Exactly. Imagine a red traffic light on a very busy street. You know, cars are rushing by, there is noise everywhere, and it just feels dangerous.
Yeah, but then the light turns red.
Right. Everyone stops, the engines go quiet, people can safely cross the street. You expect peace. You expect a clean break from the stress and the noise of the world.
But when you look at a massive war between nations, suddenly that red traffic light does not work anymore.
It's just broken.
Yeah, completely broken. The cars keep rushing. The danger does not stop at all.
It is the exact opposite of peace and quiet. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are so glad you are here with us.
We really are.
Today, we are unpacking a single news article about a holiday truce that completely fell apart. We are looking at the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia.
And just to clarify for you listening, our mission today is to understand one specific event.
Right, an agreement to pause the fighting for a major religious holiday. And, well, why that agreement failed so quickly.
But before we look at the exact day of this holiday, we really need to understand the heavier reality of this conflict.
Yeah, the context is huge here.
It is. This article tells us that this war has now dragged into its 5th year.
5 years. I mean, wow. That is a massive amount of time for a country to be fighting.
It's exhausting just to think about.
Right. Imagine living with that level of stress every single day for 5 years.
It changes everything. I mean, 5 years of conflict drains the energy of the soldiers. It exhausts the people living in towns near the fighting.
Yeah.
And most importantly, after 5 years of fighting, trust completely disappears. When enemies face each other for that long, they just do not believe anything the other side says.
They can't, really. And we will come back to that idea of trust because it is the key to this whole story.
Yep.
But first, okay, let's unpack this. If both sides in a 5-year war agree to stop fighting for a holiday, what exactly is going on and, when did this happen?
Well, this event took place on Sunday, April 12th. The special occasion was Orthodox Easter.
Right, which is huge.
It is. Now, Orthodox Easter is a deeply important religious holiday for millions of people in both Ukraine and Russia. It's a day that is supposed to be about spring, rebirth, family, and peace.
And because it is such a meaningful day, both leaders wanted a pause in the fighting. They agreed to a truce.
Right.
And for you listening, a truce is basically a temporary promise to stop shooting at each other. You put down your weapons for a short time, usually for a special reason, like a holiday.
Exactly. And the article tells us that the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, ordered a ceasefire on Thursday, just a few days before Easter.
A ceasefire.
Yeah, a ceasefire is basically another word for a truce. It is a direct military order to stop firing weapons.
Right. And on the other side, the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, had actually proposed a ceasefire more than a week before that Thursday.
Right, so they both wanted it.
Yeah, so on paper, both leaders looked at the calendar and said, yes, we will promise to stop fighting for Easter Sunday.
To understand what this actually looked like on the ground, the article includes a photograph. It gives us a very clear window into this specific Sunday in the Kharkiv region.
Oh, the photograph. Yeah, I want you to picture this scene. Imagine a quiet forest. Standing among the trees are Ukrainian military members. They are wearing their heavy military uniforms. The uniforms are dark green, designed to blend in with the trees and dirt. And these men, they look tired. They're carrying heavy gear.
But right in the middle of these soldiers, in dark green, there is a sudden flash of bright white.
It really stands out.
It does. There is a man wearing long, bright white robes. This man is a chaplain. And a chaplain is a religious leader, like a priest, who travels and works directly with the military.
So he is standing there in his white robes, praying with the soldiers to celebrate Easter. And right in front of them, sitting on a simple table in the forest, are baskets of food.
Yeah, there are red bags and traditional Easter foods just waiting to be eaten.
Looking at this one photograph, it feels like the red traffic light is working.
It really does.
You see the quiet trees, you see the soldiers resting, and you see a moment of peaceful prayer. It looks like the truce is a total success.
But the contradiction here is extreme.
Yeah, it is.
The photograph looks perfectly peaceful, but the title of the news article tells a completely different story. The title says, Ukraine, Russia trade barbs over Easter truce violations.
Okay, let us break down what that means for you. Trading barbs is a very descriptive phrase.
That's a great visual.
It is. Imagine two angry neighbors standing in their backyards. There is a tall wooden fence between them. They are shouting over the fence, tossing sharp insults and angry words at each other.
Right, like you ruined the garden.
Exactly. And the other yells, "No, you ruined it." That is what trading barbs means. It is aggressively blaming the other side.
And the second important word in that title is violations. A violation is a broken rule or a broken promise.
So the title basically tells us that Ukraine and Russia are angrily shouting at each other, blaming the other side for breaking the promise to stop fighting.
Yeah, the peaceful prayer in the forest was only a tiny part of the reality. The truce did not hold. The promise was broken.
It is so hard to imagine a peaceful Easter prayer happening at the exact same time as active combat. But that contradiction makes sense when you realize just how incredibly massive this battlefield actually is.
Right, because the fighting does not happen everywhere in the country all at once. It happens along a specific border area called a front line.
A front line.
Yes, the front line is the exact place where the two opposing armies meet, build their defenses, and face each other.
And the article gives us a number for this front line that is honestly just hard to imagine. It says the front line is 1,200 kilometers long.
1,200 kilometers. I mean, it is a staggering distance to comprehend.
Let us bring that distance into real life for a second. If you get into a car right now, get on a fast highway, and drive at a very high speed, you would have to drive for about 12 hours straight.
Wow.
Imagine driving from early in the morning until the sun goes down at night without ever stopping for gas or food. That is 1,200 kilometers.
Now imagine that entire 12-hour drive. Every single field you pass, every forest, every small town along that massive highway is a place where armies are facing each other with heavy weapons.
It's just terrifying. Because this area is so incredibly huge, the article notes that only relative calm happened on Easter.
Right, relative calm.
Yeah, which means it was quieter than a normal loud day of war, but it was not perfectly quiet. The red light was broken. There was still fighting.
And the article also mentions that a very similar agreement happened last year, and it had the exact same result. It is simply too large of an area to completely control.
Now, we need to be clear here. We are not taking sides. Because information in war is highly contested, we are looking strictly at what both governments officially released to the public this week.
Exactly. We are just sharing the exact numbers both sides reported. And both sides reported that the rules of the truce were broken thousands of times.
Looking at the report from the Ukrainian army, the numbers are extreme. By 7:00 a.m. on April 12th, they recorded that Russia broke the truce exactly 2,299 times.
Wait, 2,299 broken promises in a single morning?
In a single morning. And Ukraine gave a very specific list of how it happened. They reported 28 enemy assault actions.
And an assault action is traditional fighting. It means soldiers physically moving forward on the ground to attack a position.
Right. They also reported 479 enemy shellings. Shelling is when an army uses very large, heavy guns to fire explosive shells from far away, hoping to hit the enemy lines.
But the most significant numbers in this report are not about traditional soldiers or heavy guns at all.
No, they're not.
They're about drones.
This is where the nature of this war really becomes clear. Ukraine counted 747 strikes by attack drones and another 1,045 strikes by FPV drones.
We really need to explain exactly how this works because it changes everything about how a modern war is fought.
Yeah, please do.
So a drone is a small flying machine. It is often made of plastic and metal, and it has small propellers that lift it into the sky. It is not flown by a pilot sitting inside it.
Right.
It is controlled by a person standing safely on the ground, sometimes miles away.
And the specific type of drone mentioned here, an FPV drone, that stands for first-person view.
First-person view, exactly.
Imagine a soldier sitting in a dark room or a trench. This soldier is wearing large electronic glasses over their eyes. These glasses show a live video feed directly from a small camera on the front of the flying drone.
So the soldier sees exactly what the flying machine sees.
Like a video game.
Very much like a video game. They use a hand controller to fly this machine through the air, over the trees, and directly into an enemy target. The machine is carrying explosives. When it hits the target, it explodes.
Wow. This means a soldier can hide miles away from the front line, wear video game glasses, and fly a small explosive machine into a target.
It's wild.
It is. Ukraine counted 1,045 of these specific FPV drone strikes during the holiday truce, and they did not keep this information secret. They shared all of these exact numbers publicly on the social media platform Facebook.
And looking at the Russian Defense Minister's report, the numbers are just as staggering.
Yeah.
Russia accused Ukraine of breaking the rules nearly 2,000 times. Specifically, they recorded 1,971 ceasefire violations.
1,971. It is a completely different reality from that peaceful forest photograph.
It really is. Russia claimed that the Ukrainian forces fired 258 times using artillery or tanks.
Right.
And artillery is very similar to shelling, using large cannons to fire heavy explosives over long distances.
Right. And they also focused heavily on drones. Russia counted 1,329 FPV drone strikes from the Ukrainian side.
1,329.
Yeah. And they added that there were 375 times where drones dropped various types of munitions. Munitions is just a military word for bombs or explosives. So drones were flying over the Russian lines and dropping bombs 375 times.
And just like Ukraine, Russia immediately shared these numbers online. They posted their report on a social media platform called the Amnax Messenger app.
Although, the timeline Russia reported in the article is a bit confusing.
Oh, how so?
Well, the news article says Russia recorded these 1,971 violations between 4:00 p.m. Moscow time on April 12th and 8:00 a.m. on April 12th.
Wait, from 4 p.m. back to 8:00 a.m.
Exactly. Reading that, it sounds backward. You cannot go from 4 p.m. back to 8 a.m. on the same day.
Right, that doesn't make sense.
It is highly likely the news reporter simply made a typing mistake with the dates in the article, but the core fact remains exactly the same. Around this peaceful holiday, Russia counted nearly 2,000 attacks.
What's fascinating here is how different this is from conflicts in the past.
Yeah, it's totally different.
In older wars, soldiers sat in muddy trenches. They had to look at each other across a field. Information about a battle took days or weeks to travel back to the capital cities.
But today, armies are using advanced technology to fight from a distance. They're launching thousands of small flying robots. They have computers exactly counting every single machine that flies through the air.
Yeah, counting them exactly.
And they are instantly posting the results on Facebook and Messenger apps for regular people around the world to read on their phones. The speed of the violence and the speed of the information are entirely connected.
They are.
But I want to push back on this a little bit. If both Russia and Ukraine have all this advanced technology, and they both know they are fighting a massive 5-year war with zero trust, well, why even bother calling a truce in the first place?
That's a very fair question.
Right. If they both know a simple holiday won't stop the FPV drones, is this just a political show for the rest of the world?
That is a crucial question, and it is partly a political show. Both leaders want to show their citizens and the world that they respect this deeply important religious holiday.
They want to look good.
Exactly. They want to be seen as the side that offered peace. But the reality on the ground makes peace almost impossible to enforce.
Because of the 1,200 kilometers.
Exactly. When a conflict has lasted for 5 full years, soldiers are exhausted and terrified. There is no trust at all. Imagine you are a soldier standing in a cold trench somewhere along that 12-hour driving line.
Okay, I'm imagining it.
You are told there is a truce, but then you hear a strange buzzing noise in the sky.
Oh, right. You hear the propellers of a small plastic drone.
Yes. You do not know if that drone is just looking around or if it is carrying explosives. You do not trust the enemy. So you shoot at the drone to protect yourself.
And when you shoot at the drone, the other side hears your gun.
They hear your gun, and because they do not trust you, they assume you are attacking them.
Oh, I see.
So they fire an artillery shell back at you. Suddenly, local soldiers making split-second decisions out of fear create a chain reaction. A small mistake turns into artillery firing, which turns into hundreds of drone strikes.
Wow.
The leaders in the capital cities might want a truce, but the reality of a massive, tense front line makes it fall apart immediately.
So instead of trying to stop the chain reaction, the armies just use their computers to count the attacks, post the numbers on social media, and trade barbs. They just shout over the fence at each other.
Pretty much. And the obvious next step is to ask, what are the measures?
Right, the measure.
A measure is an action taken to achieve a goal or fix a problem. Did anyone try to take a measure to fix this broken truce?
Did anyone try to make the peace last longer than just one messy weekend?
The article outlines the measures taken by both sides. President Zelensky of Ukraine actually called for a longer ceasefire.
Oh, really?
Yeah. During his evening video speech on the Saturday before Easter, he proposed extending the truce. He officially asked to keep the promise of peace going beyond the holiday.
So Ukraine's measure was basically to ask for more time. How did Russia respond to this official proposal?
The response came on Sunday. The Kremlin spokesperson, a man named Dmitry Peskov, rejected the idea. He said no to the extension.
No extension.
But he gave a very specific political reason. He stated that Russia would not extend the truce unless the Ukrainian leader accepted Russia's well-known terms.
Well-known terms. Okay, terms in this context means conditions or demands. It is a list of things you must do before I agree to stop.
Right.
So Russia is saying, we have a large list of political demands. Everyone already knows what they are. We will not stop firing our weapons unless you agree to our big demands.
The Russian measure was a complete rejection. They tied the idea of a simple holiday peace directly to their major political goals.
Because, I mean, a holiday is just a date on a calendar. The sun comes up, people pray, people eat traditional food, and the sun goes down. A date on a calendar has no power to solve a 5-year political war.
The holiday pause was always going to be temporary. When Zelensky asked for a longer pause, Peskov's answer showed that real peace requires a massive political agreement, not just a holiday spirit.
Yeah.
Because Ukraine does not accept Russia's big demands, the fighting simply continues. The red light stays broken.
We have covered a lot of complex ground today. Let us slowly summarize the core facts of this deep dive so you, our listener, can walk away with a clear understanding of this news article.
This is a great time to review the foundation of the story.
2 countries, Ukraine and Russia, have been fighting a very heavy war for 5 years. They tried to make a truce, a promise to stop fighting, for the Orthodox Easter holiday.
Right.
But the area where they fight is massive. It is a front line 1,200 kilometers long.
And because the area is so large, and because 5 years of war destroys all trust between armies, the holiday pause did not work.
Both sides reported that the rules were broken thousands of times in a single day. Ukraine counted over 2,000 attacks. Russia counted nearly 2,000 attacks. They used heavy guns, and they used thousands of small flying machines called FPV drones, controlled by soldiers wearing video screens.
And after counting all these drone strikes, both governments immediately went on social media platforms like Facebook and the Amax Messenger app.
They traded barbs. They loudly blamed each other for breaking the promise.
Finally, when Ukraine suggested extending the peace, Russia said no. They said the fighting would only stop if their big political demands were met.
If we look at why this matters to you, it tells us a lot about the reality of the modern world. It shows us that human traditions, like beautiful holidays, peaceful prayers, and baskets of food, do not stop the machinery of war.
They really don't. Technology runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Peace requires much more than just wanting a quiet weekend.
It is a heavy, difficult reality, but understanding these mechanisms helps us make sense of global news. We promise to explore the what, the when, the where, the why, and the measures, and we have unpacked all of that from this single article.
And as we always do, we want to look at the bigger picture.
Yes, I want to leave you with a final thought today, something to turn over in your mind while you go about the rest of your day. We spent a lot of time talking about how both armies used computers to count thousands of drone strikes in a single day.
Right, and then posted that data directly onto the internet?
Exactly. It is an endless stream of digital information.
And everywhere.
Think about this. 100 years ago, historians wrote books about war by reading old handwritten letters or finding physical diaries in the mud.
Yeah, very physical stuff.
But today, armies are instantly recording over 3,000 small drone flights in 24 hours. If military technology can track every single tiny machine in the sky with perfect digital memory, well, how will this extreme level of tracking change the way future wars are recorded in history books?
It changes human memory completely.
It does.
Future historians will not need to guess what happened. They will have a digital spreadsheet of every single explosive machine flown through that forest.
Wow. We started this deep dive talking about a red traffic light. We all want that clean break. We all want a moment where everything just stops, the danger passes, and we can breathe.
Yeah.
But in the modern world of endless digital data, flying drones, and instant social media updates, maybe the traffic light is never truly red anymore. Maybe it is always blinking, always moving, and always recording.
That is the reality of the era we live in.
It is. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive today. We loved exploring this complex topic with you, unpacking the vocabulary and looking at the mechanisms of modern news. Keep learning, keep asking questions about the world around you, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.